Boss fights are one of the most essential parts of a combat-oriented video game, and as such, most developers put boss encounters front and center so players don't miss out on them. Of course, it's not always the case. In addition to our previous list on the subject matter, here are 14 more secret bosses that you probably never knew existed in the first place. Dark Lurker, Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 inarguably has the most divisive assortment of bosses in the entire trilogy, although there are still a fair number of bosses that can give players the fair challenge they so wish for. The Dark Lurker is one such boss that can only be found after joining Pilgrims of the Dark Covenant through Dark Driver Grandal, who can be found in the Black Gulch area. After this, players will have to complete their questline and light all the fires in the 3 Dark Old Zones, which will ultimately unlock this one hell of a boss fight. Thumerian Blood Queen, Bloodborne. To have a chance at fighting the Thumerian Blood Queen, players will have to run through a gauntlet of tough-as-nails challenges. You will have to complete 4 Thumeru dungeons, which have a total of 13 layers before being granted access to the 5th and the final dungeon, which houses this boss fight. It can be a tough boss fight, although it's also possible that the boss wouldn't react at all to your attacks thanks to a certain famous glitch that occasionally happens with the boss. Sigrun, God of War. God of War's base campaign might not be the most grueling of a challenge for most gamers, but those wanting to see all that the game has to offer should definitely be ready for some pain. To even face the Queen of Valkyries, Sigrun, players will first have to hunt down 8 Valkyries, all of which are some of the hardest endgame challenges in their own right. Of course, Sigrun being the Queen is the most powerful of the bunch, and to even stand a chance of defeating her, players will have to collect the best gear and power-ups possible before entering the arena. Emile Level 99, Nier Automata. In addition to having multiple endings and convoluted narratives, Nier Automata also houses some pretty interesting boss fights, and this fight with the game's recognizable trader is its toughest, that also happens to be a secret accessible to only the most dedicated of players. You need to complete the game at least once, and after completing the Lunar Tears side quest on the subsequent playthroughs, you get access to Emile's house in the City Ruins Center crater. Once you get inside, loot the chest and return to the trader once again. Now go back to his house once again with your sidekick 9S, which will initiate this level 99 boss fight. So Sorry, Undertale. Undertale is a game that's filled with interesting details for eagle-eyed gamers to find. Case in point, the So Sorry boss fight. To initiate this boss fight, you'll have to travel to the art room and then read the sign at a very specific time frame, 8 to 8:59, when the computer clock is set for October the 10th. A point worth noting is that the only way to defeat this boss is by killing, so it might be best to avoid the fight altogether if you're aiming for a true pacifist run. Slot Machine, Star Fox. Star Fox was a pretty bold and ambitious game, and to put a secret boss fight into this already huge game is, simply put, genius. The Slot Machine boss fight can only be accessed if players spend upwards of 3 minutes in the Out of This Dimension stage of the game. To defeat the boss, players will have to get a 777 on the slot machine, which will cause it to self-destruct. Naydra, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a game that's chock full of content, and of course, secrets, including but not limited to Naydra, who is one of the 3 dragons in the game. To access this boss fight, players will have to climb to the peak of Mount Lanayru and free him of his malice. Then you will need to go to Lanayru Bay at around 6 AM or so, which will then see the dragons spawning from the sky. Dark Eater Medea, Dark Souls 3. In addition to the brutally difficult The Nameless King, the game houses another secret boss fight that most players will probably miss out on. Players will have to make their way through the side of a shortcut in the Ringed City area, break an illusory wall, and fall down a seemingly infinite hole. It's a long and arduous journey just to get to the boss, which also happens to be tough as nails with its heavy-hitting attacks and gargantuan health bar. Crawmerax, Borderlands 1. Crawmerax is generally considered by fans to be the toughest boss in Borderlands, and thus they should have their wits and guns about them before even trying to face this one hell of a boss. During the side mission You Will Die, you'll have to look for the Crawmerax lair in the secret armory of General Knox. Regardless of your equipment, the boss is a test of both skill and endurance, so make sure you have both before you face this beast of a boss. Dark Inferno, Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 might not have won the hearts of all series fans, but this secret boss fight will definitely leave many fans scratching the back of their heads in vain trying to defeat him. Fast travel to the Badlands area and keep on heading north of the cave, which will lead you to the Keyblade graveyard that houses this boss. The boss has multiple health bars and huge damage dealing combos, and as such, only the most trained of players should even attempt this boss. Pride and Joy, Final Fantasy VII Remake. To gain access to this boss fight, players will have to complete every Corneo Coliseum battle challenge and every Shinra Combat Simulator challenge in the game up until Chapter 17, which will unlock the Shinra VR Simulator encounter by the name of 3-person team versus top secrets. Then, you'll have to run through a gauntlet of boss rush encounters which will lead you to this boss fight. Demon of Hatred, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Easily one of the toughest fights in all of Sekiro, the Demon of Hatred can only be fought against near the conclusion of the game. After all previously discovered sculptor idols become inaccessible following a certain story beat, players will have to make their way to the place where you first fought the chained ogre, and then keep moving forward until you come across a gate covered in flames which neatly hides a small passage. Go through it, which will start this one slog of an encounter. Hollow Knight, The Radiance. Team Cherry's Metroidvania is chock full of secret areas and boss fights. Case in point, The Radiance. To fight the Radiance, players will first have to get a hold of the Void Heart and equip it in the game's final battle. When the knight reaches the final phase, use the Dream Nail on him, which will end this fight and then face the game's true final boss, the Radiance. Edna boss fight, Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise, much like previous Tales games before, is a game brimming with secrets. The Edna boss fight is one such secret, which can only be accessed during the Otherworldly Visitor's subquest. Edna, holding an umbrella, can be found in the Cavern of Fate depths. She's a level 62 enemy, and as such, fans should be well prepared before taking her on. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on Gaming Bolt, so please consider subscribing, as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.